when the intelligence community reported that there were weapons of mass destruction being built in Iraq, and that we had to go in, put boots on the ground, and bring down Saddam Hussein to prevent weapons of mass destruction. Do you agree with me that that was corruption? There were no weapons of mass destruction, and it was basically a lie to get us into the war in Iraq.
Gun forms, right? But they will.
They absolutely are, though. I'm sorry, you're wrong about that. They are.
I am 1,000,000% right on this. I would bet money if I had any money. Okay, we're provably doing a whole bunch of insane shit, right?
That the left is very critical on law enforcement, right? And I'm not saying it's unwarranted or unjustified, but then I have a lot of family in law enforcement, so I kind of see both sides of the issue. Absolutely, the most corruption you see in law enforcement is within these national agencies like the FBI or the CIA
or the NSA or something like that.
And then that for some reason that corruption, it's okay. We can let that slide.
Can like besides like an investigation into Donald Trump, which seems to be the number one and only thing that anybody ever brings up, is the fact that the FBI it investigated or was bringing charges against Donald Trump for things that he did, right? Can you give me an example of the FBI being corrupt against like anything else?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The way they handled Hillary Clinton's mishandling of classified information was absolutely corrupt as hell. If I in the military had done a similar thing, I would be in prison for my entire life. I already know that. Whereas
how much do you know about this? I'm not like an expert on that like specific topic, but I will I know enough about it to know that Hillary Clinton was investigated for years, and they weren't able to secure even not a conviction, what is it? An indictment. They couldn't even indict her.
They didn't want to indict her.
The Republican Party didn't want to indict Hillary Clinton.
No, the FBI did not want to indict her. Because
the FBI had the same access to. Sure, yeah.
I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I'm not a member of the let's put behind bars political opponents on either side. I've been saying that's stupid since 2016. I still think it's a stupid idea. I'm not saying we grant immunity to every political candidate, but I'm really not a fan of that road.
I mean, I'm not a fan of it either. But like that's my thing, right? Like when we look at the like quote unquote weaponization of the DOJ, right? We have like someone like Kash Patel, who is about to be nominated to be the head of the FBI, who says that here's a list of like 80 names of people that I'm going to politically prosecute, right? And then the Democrats, number one, they investigated their own people in I can't remember his first name, but Menendez from New Jersey. They got him, right? And I think he's been convicted unless something has changed since last time I looked. But like they went after their own Democratic senator, right? They investigated the President of the United States. The DOJ investigated the President of the United States, the sitting one, the Democrat. Okay, we have the DOJ special counsel into Hunter Biden, right? Like the idea that the Democrats are weaponizing the DOJ in a way that is just like hyper partisan compared to what the Republicans are openly saying right now is ludicrous to me, right? Like this double standard.
Didn't Joe Biden just say that the DOJ was weaponized against his own son?
I haven't looked into anything on the Hunter Biden pardon thing. I was going to do that later today in stream.
Yeah, well, in the pardon, he straight up says that the Department of Justice was weaponized against Hunter Biden, which if we're going to say that that's the case, then, well, gee whiz, couldn't they also be weaponized against Trump? But going back to the Hillary thing,
but
though,
like, really quick, just because I want to talk about stuff that is like more pertinent to literally right now, and because I want to talk about things that I know more about, right? Because I was still in high school when Hillary was being questioned about shit.
Okay.
So when it comes to Hunter Biden, I would say that, yeah, there was absolutely weaponization of the justice system against Hunter Biden. The amount of shit that like 5 years worth of investigations into Hunter Biden, and the best that they could get on him was like tack on charges, right? Things that people would only get like prosecuted for normally, right? People would only get prosecuted for these things if they were caught doing another crime, and then they wanted to put them behind bars for longer, and then they would tack on these charges, right? Like the Kodak Black guy. Yeah, with the gun charge. The Kodak Black guy did the exact same thing. And the only reason he got caught with that charge is because he was on like either TikTok or Instagram Live holding his guns improperly high as in front of his children. That's the only reason that he got arrested for that.
It's that if you're going to lie on a gun form, you're going to go to prison for a very long time, regardless of who you are.
But what I'm trying to say is people don't like the FBI and the ATF and all these different, law enforcement agencies that the federal government has. They're not going after people like day in and day out for like writing shit incorrectly on their gun forms, right? But they will.
They absolutely are, though. I'm sorry, you're wrong about that. They are.
I am 1,000,000% right on this. I would bet money if I had any money. Okay. Because my understanding is that the gun charge is not something that people are going to very easily, or like the law enforcement agencies are going to easily just like discover. They're not going through the file cabinets and saying, let's investigate this person. Let's investigate this person. It's usually, hey, this person committed a crime. All right. And it has to do with guns. Let's look at their gun paperwork. Oh, they lied on the gun paperwork? Oh, okay. Well, we can go ahead and tack that charge on. That's my understanding of it.
Well, with your understanding, you haven't had a lot of experience with law enforcement in general.
I'm just going based off of what like people in the FBI and people in law enforcement have said. So,
well, beyond that, give me a sec.
Also, really quick, I know that there was another person in the waiting room. I will, if you want to jump back in, I will drag you in right after I'm done talking to this guy.
Beyond that, what was I going to say? I was going to say something, and then you went on a
sorry, I apologize. We were talking about the tack-on charges, and I was saying that like I can only speak to things that I've seen people in the industry say.
Beyond that, like the treatment that Hunter got was absolutely exceptional and way more than. So in the military, I see people all the time get hemmed up on drug shit, even just weed, right? This guy
in the military, right?
Well, yeah, this guy got in a waiver, Hunter Biden, to be an officer. I believe it was in the Navy, and then was high on cocaine, and then just got a not even a dishonorable discharge, if I understand right. That's insane, especially for an officer. He should have absolutely been doing prison time for that. I don't think
I've heard of this. Hunter Biden discharged Navy, you said, or was it Coast Guard?
It was Navy. Okay. I'm pretty sure.
Reuters.
Which him getting in as an officer at his age was already clearly because he was Biden's son.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't doubt that there's nepotism within the government, but, like, also, one second. Where's the he didn't receive a dishonorable discharge. Was handed a less severe administrative discharge after failing a drug test for cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty, like, on par for, like, what we know about him, right?
Yeah. And then, you're saying attack on charges, but
yeah. Do you know how they like got the evidence for these things?
No. Go ahead and refresh me.
Yeah, they looked at his memoir and then they found like cocaine residue on a gun holster that he hadn't used in a long time because he's been sober for 5 years. Like that's the evidence that they got him on these things. Well, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure doesn't he have to do like drug tests and shit? I'm pretty sure he's like in some sort of program that forces him to do that. And also,
Well,
he doesn't
that much
look
I
like he's
don't
on
know.
drugs anymore because you can see the pictures before and after he was sober.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, well, I mean, yeah, having drug residue on a gun holster though is pretty alarming, if you ask me.
I mean,
I'm pretty
it
pro
can
Second
be,
Amendment,
but
but you
like,
shouldn't be mixing guns and drugs.
I mean, like, I don't disagree with that, right? Like, I'm pro Second Amendment too, but like, I'm not gonna like sit here and say like, oh, well, they're trying to go after him for something to do with Burisma in Ukraine, but they can't find enough like evidence to get any kind of indictment for that. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to just like do a fishing expedition into every aspect of this life, right? We're going to find some kind of tax charge, which you shouldn't cheat on your taxes, right? But that got paid back, right?
But that's like standard for law enforcement, though. Is if you suspect, like, let's say you got a mafia boss, right? And you know he did all this corrupt shit, but you don't have the evidence yet, so you find any hole in him and then investigate that, and it'll turn up other leads. That's not really weaponization or taking on a guy. That's standard.
I would agree with you, but like there has to be like some kind of evidence that, like, for instance, with Al Capone, they got him on tax charges, right? But they had a bunch of evidence for a bunch of other shit that he did, but they just didn't feel like they had enough evidence to like bring it to court, right? They couldn't find any evidence for anything that they were claiming about Hunter Biden with like the Chinese people or the Ukrainian people or the Russian people or like anybody, right? It turned out like one of their major informants for the Republican Party, that was the Republican probe into Hunter Biden, like one of their major informants was literally a Russian spy that had to flee the United States because he was outed as a Russian spy, and then they just kind of like pretended like none of that ever happened. And then the best that they could do on literally anything, because they couldn't find any evidence of any of the crimes that they alleged, was the tax fraud and like a near half decade old gun infraction.
Okay, well, they hadn't found anything yet.
They investigated him for 5 years. Maybe after like 5 years and 6 months, maybe after the 6th year, they would find something. Is that what you're trying to say? Or like, do we just like indefinitely investigate this guy until we find some kind of proof? Or
I don't know if they would have found proof or not, but I think it's pretty. You really need to look up this pardon that Biden issued. I think it's pretty.
Well, yeah, we're gonna get to that pretty soon here on stream. I just we were going in order of the things that
I hate to not mention it, but it's kind of impossible not to, because the
no. You can
when
here we can start looking into it right now.
The pardon starts when he joined Burisma, so that's a little weird, and then goes on for 11 years.
I'll tell you everything that I know about the pardon right now, and then I'll tell you what my like immediate thoughts of it are, right? It's a 10-year blanket immunity thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
11 years, I think, exactly, but yeah, close enough.
Okay, so like on one hand, that sounds super sketchy. On the other hand, they've been investigating this for 5 years. His name is now on the FBI investigation hit list that this Kash Patel guy has, right? And they haven't found anything incriminating over 5 years of like special counsels and congressional, like ethics committee or whatever the like probes into Hunter Biden. Like no law enforcement agency, no special prosecutor, no special investigator has been able to find any malfeasance when it comes to the Ukrainian Burisma stuff. I think like my initial thought before even reading anything about the pardon is that, okay, well, I'm Joe Biden. My son has been, investigated like for the past 5 years because I'm president, right? They haven't been able to find anything about him. And now they're putting him on a hit list for things that they say are going to be, like more political prosecution of this guy. I'm just going to give him a blanket pardon, and like they can't find anything in him yet, then I'm not going to let them sit there and continue to harass my previously drug-addled son and send him back into a drug addiction relapse.
So you don't think? Well, first of all, Biden promised he wouldn't, and talked all this stuff about.
I agree that he probably shouldn't have promised not to.
Well, my theory is that the plan was he steps down, Kamala takes his place with the agreement that she would pardon Hunter, and that would let Joe Biden maintain that I didn't pardon my own son. I'm not interfering with the system. Kamala pardons him. I think that was the original plan, but Trump winning really threw a wrench into things.
Why would that throw a wrench into it?
Well, with Trump winning, now Kamala doesn't get a term, and she can't pardon Hunter. So if he's going to be
Biden
pardoned,
can
it has to be
step
Joe
down
right now.
if he really wanted to do that. He still can step down and let Kamala be the first female president for the next month.
Yeah, at that point, it's so obvious what you're doing, though, that it doesn't make much of a difference. And I don't think Joe wants to step down for the remainder of 4 years. That guy wanted to be president since like the 70s.
Let me ask you.
You don't think
did you? Well, go ahead and ask your question. Sorry, I'm interrupting you a lot.
Oh no. It's all right. What were you going to ask me?
Did you have as many problems with any of the Trump pardons?
I didn't like Trump's pardons at all.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of his pardons. They suck.
This is something that I saw a debate on this last night that was infuriating. I've been seeing people talk about this on Twitter, and it's just insane to me because of the double standard for how much energy we give to the unbelievably obviously corrupt pardons that Trump did, right? People who were begging for pardons because they knew that they broke the law. You can see this in their text messages saying to Trump, hey, I think it was Eastman. He was hey, I actually think that I will need that pardon after all of this now, right? And yeah. I'm not even sure if he got one, but there were a bunch of people who were on that pardon list who were provably, lying to Congress, that were provably, doing fraud, that were provably doing a whole bunch of insane shit, right? And Trump gave them blanket pardons too. But for all the Republicans who are talking about this being corruption, I don't see any of that energy for what Trump did. But now that Biden's doing is the most insane shit ever.
I'm not saying that Biden issuing this pardon is corruption. That's one of the powers of the president. You get to issue pardons whether you like it or not. I didn't like Trump's, but at the end of the day, he gets to issue damn pardons. I do think it is damning that Hunter was up to something based on how long of a pardon it was, based on other things like Biden leveraging that foreign loan to Ukraine. Unless they fire the prosecutor investigating his son, shit like that is extremely shady.
That's not why he fired. That was in line with what the intelligence communities, what the executive branch, what our allies in Europe wanted. They were all looking at this Shokin guy and saying, "Hey, he's not doing any real investigations. There's a million things of corruption inside of Ukraine, and this guy's not investigating any of them. This guy needs to go." Yeah, Biden did pressure them to impeach that guy, or not impeach him, to fire that guy. But it's because he wasn't investigating anything hard enough. That all of our allies. It wasn't
pressuring though. It was straight up a quid pro quo situation because again he was investigating Hunter Biden or Joe Biden's son.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't investigating Burisma to the degree. It wasn't just Burisma though, right? There were a million different things that he wasn't investigating because he too was corrupt, which is why Biden, at the behest of not just Obama, but because, well, let me ask you this. Do you think that Joe Biden, against the wishes of the DOD, the DOJ, the CIA, all of the intelligence agencies in the United States, against the executive branch of the United States, against all of our European allies who are also having stakes in Ukraine, against all of their feelings about Shokin, you think that he unilaterally went in there, did a quid pro quo, and nobody was upset about it?
No, I'm sure the intelligence community was on board with it, but I have.
Why do you think? Do you think that they were on board with it because they wanted to defend Hunter Biden?
Absolutely.
Okay, hold on.
But
you don't believe this.
Let me counter you.
I'm just gonna lay out what you just said, and then you can say it. You're saying that
Sure.
all of our European allies who had a stake in Ukraine also were hardcore dick riding Hunter Biden.
Well, are not all of our European allies pretty damn left wing? And if there's this
Has
high
nothing to
level
do.
of corruption,
Also, that's not true. But like,
if there's a high level of corruption, like within our own country, in the Democrat sphere, and I'm not saying the Republicans are any less corrupt, but within the Democrat sphere of things, I'm sure there's also corruption in Germany. There's also corruption in Switzerland, for example, right?
yeah, I mean, you can
but
there's almost certainly corruption in every single government like possible, like to varying degrees. I don't think that our country is nearly as corrupt as fuck any European like Eastern European country or Russia or China or like any of our adversaries. I don't even think that we're really that corrupt. But like again, you're alleging a global conspiracy at this point to defend Hunter Biden, a literal nobody on the world stage.
No, that's a misrepresentation. I'm saying that there's a vested interest if this guy is investigating things like Burisma and Hunter Biden. There's a vested interest for left wingers to get rid of this guy. But
But
beyond
that's the thing.
that,
They fired him because he wasn't investigating Burisma, and the next guy that went in did investigate Burisma.
All right, let's rewind for a second here. When the intelligence community all agreed that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and we had to go in and do something about it, do you agree with that assessment, or do you agree with me that that was corruption?
Oh, sorry, can you just repeat it again? I just missed like the first part of what you said.
Sure. So when the intelligence community reported that there were weapons of mass destruction being built in Iraq, and that we had to go in, put boots on the ground, and bring down Saddam Hussein to prevent weapons of mass destruction. Do you agree with me that that was corruption? There were no weapons of mass destruction, and it was basically a lie to get us into the war in Iraq.
All right, so I was literally like 8 years old when the war in Iraq started, but this is my understanding that all of our intelligence agencies actually said that there was no like evidence of WMDs, but the special counsel or like something that the Bush administration put in place specifically was the one that said, yes, there are weapons of mass destruction. And they went with that report instead of the report that was a joint report from the CIA, NSA, and like 2 other intel agencies. But I could be wrong, but that's my understanding, is that we did have the intelligence agencies, and they did say we don't have evidence of WMDs, but there was a special investigator that was appointed by the Bush administration, and they went with that one.
I'm pretty sure that's not the case. I'm like 90% sure that
intel agencies.
By all means, please do.
Iraq war. Okay, and after this, there's a guy that's been waiting for like 30 minutes. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. So first thing, scrolling down a little bit more. Okay, I'm not sure like what I can find.
Well, since that guy's been waiting so long, I'll just say, if you do find that yes, the intelligence community failed, which I believe is the case,
if they
but
failed,
I could be
if
wrong.
they did fail, like I'm not like gonna sit here and say that the United States has never made a mistake or that there has never been corruption. It's just that my understanding is that like there was a joint report from like 3 intelligence agencies that said we don't have any solid evidence of WMDs in Iraq, and the Bush administration went with some outside intelligence from someone that they appointed.
Well, my point would be if the intelligence community was corrupt enough to do something like that back then, but they aren't corrupt now, what changed and what got rid of that corruption?
But
that
like,
would be my
also,
first question,
like, but again, like we look at specifically the things that they're doing to Donald Trump, and we look at the things that they're doing to like Hillary Clinton and stuff, but like overwhelmingly, the majority of what the CIA and the FBI does is stuff that is good for the United States. Do you disagree?
Absolutely, I disagree.
Okay. If you're up for it, later this week I'll be streaming again. If you want to like
Sure.
bring me some stuff that you can like either DM me or post them in interesting articles in the Discord. I read through almost everything that people post in there, so we can like revisit this conversation since I'm cutting it short.
Yeah, sure. Can I leave you with a little parting statement, though?
As long as it's not something that's going to get me banned off of the website.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. That's screwed up.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a swing voter. I'm the kind of guy that will vote depending on. Hell, if Tulsi Gabbard was running for the presidential election, I would have voted for her over Trump. That said, I watched your pre-election coverage, and I would encourage you to really take time to step back, take a look, because I'm watching the Democrat Party learn absolutely nothing from this past election. And it's sad to see, because I don't want there to be a Republican monopoly. I want there to be two good choices. But
That would be a cool thing to talk about next time. Like, I agree.
Yeah.
There's a lot of problems with what the Democrats are doing right now, but like what we like, especially if you're like a Tulsi Gabbard person, then I would probably say that we have very different prescriptions on what we ought to be doing to change things. But like that would be an interesting conversation that we can tack on to the second half of this one next time we talk.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, hey, thanks for having me. And you have a good night, man.
All right, catch you later, brother.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, welcome. For people that are new, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Kick, I'm Sondsol. I am a political science student. I like to talk about politics. I like to argue about politics. We talk about all sorts of fun things on here, like drama and politics. And I like to argue with people and chat about a lot of different things. Like, comment, and subscribe. I don't like to shill all